Alright, it's time. We're doing this. Finally. Every long-running franchise has a turning point, in my opinion. A moment after which nothing really feels the same afterwards, try as the people behind the given franchise might to save it. For Star Wars, it was The Phantom Menace, for the MCU, it was Endgame, and for Thomas the Tank Engine and friends, it was Thomas and the Magic Railroad. Here's an opinion that's going to piss off basically all of you. Thomas and the Magic Railroad is, in my opinion, the worst Thomas and Friends movie. Now, yes, there are other productions like Misty Island Rescue or Day of the Diesels and basically all of Big World Big Adventures minus the Royal Engine, but I honestly cannot call any of those the worst like I can for Thomas and the Magic Railroad. Now, you may be wondering why I'm making this video, as Thomas and the Magic Railroad has over the years been talked to death, and my opinions aren't exactly revolutionary. But what I have started to notice is that my opinion of it being the worst Thomas movie has started to become a minority take. And whether that's due to nostalgia-tinted glasses or the movie actually being good with me being wrong, I have no idea. It just seems to me that more and more people have started to grow a soft spot for Thomas and the Magic Railroad, while I still see it in quite a negative light. Regardless, today I'm going to talk about why I feel the way I do, and explain why, in my opinion, Thomas and the Magic Railroad is the worst Thomas and Friends movie. Okay, before I start complaining, I want to talk about some good stuff, as I do still actually enjoy this movie, even if it is for nostalgia purposes. Firstly, all the stuff with the engine characters is great. Their voices are all really good, and the new characters are a ton of fun. Diesel 10 steals the show whenever he is on screen, Splodge is hilarious, and Lady makes for an interesting sort of MacGuffin mystery character, even though she breaks all previously established lore, but we'll get into that later. The score by Hummy Man is really good, although it is a crime that we never got a cinematic Mike and Jr. score. Mr. Conductor is great, and you can tell Alec Baldwin is having a blast with the role. I think the chase scene at the end is probably the most entertaining part of the whole movie. Like, if this movie never existed, and you came to me and said, there's going to be a Thomas the Tank Engine movie on the big screen, and this is going to be the ending, I would 100% be on board, no pun intended. And lastly, I think it's really, really wholesome that thanks to this movie, which was her passion project, Britt Allcroft is immortalized in the world she helped bring to the big screen and the small screen via her voicing of Lady. And I also have to say that regardless of what I feel the quality of the film is, I respect the hell out of Britt Allcroft for making the movie she wanted to make, and even when she was forced to delete certain elements for the sake of wider appeal, she still had, in the end, a movie that was definitively hers. Alright, here's what you all clicked on the video for, why I think that Thomas and the Magic Railroad is the worst. I want to get some of the more nitpicky stuff out of the way first, and then jump into my actual big problems with the movie. The nitpicks are all basically summed up by the fact that for me, every good thing in the movie has a slight caveat. I want to say the stuff with the engines is really good, but in my opinion, the sets look really boring and bland. I want to say the human drama is good because it technically is, but it isn't interesting because it doesn't really connect to or affect Thomas and the gang. And I want to say the music is good, which it is, but as I said above, there's something so painful to me about having a cinematic classic Thomas production without Mike and Jr. But with that out of the way, on to why it's the worst. Thomas and the Magic Railroad, for me, is the worst Thomas and Friends film because it fundamentally misunderstands what Thomas is supposed to be and sent the franchise spiraling into a train wreck that it never quite recovered from. For those unaware, Thomas and the Magic Railroad was the passion project of Britt Allcroft, and her thesis for the film was essentially to take the characters and world of the variety show Shining Time Station, the vessel for which Thomas came over to North America with, and combine it with the world of Sodor. The problem was, she did it in the weirdest way possible. When writing Thomas and the Magic Railroad, Allcroft changed several of the rules and workings of the Thomas and Friends universe to be able to smush the two worlds together. She wrote Sodor as a sort of magical alternate dimension that existed separate from the real world, that could only be accessed via a magical railroad, gold dust, and a magical engine that keeps it all alive. She made Sodor akin to something like Narnia or Hogwarts, places that can really only exist in fantasy. It was Shining Time that in her treatment became the real world, existing somewhere in the United States where through a pair of magic buffers one can reach Sodor. Those aren't the only fantastical elements introduced, and the magic stuff isn't exclusive to whatever surrounds Sodor. For example, Mr. C's size changing based on where he is, the talking tumbleweed, bellflower phones, etc. All of these new elements resulted in a story that was insanely convoluted and messy, not just because of the fact that these elements are on their own inherently confusing, but because they just complicated Thomas's world in a way that didn't need to be. It all came together to make for a story where Sodor, on the edge of a special universe where it essentially is its own pocket dimension, is in danger, as the magic railroad which connects it to the real world is dying, and the gold dust used instead of the magic railroad now is running out. Lady, the lost engine who ran and powered all of this, and kept all the engines alive, and sustained the universe, was crashed long ago by the man she was left to by the conductor family, Burnett Stone, who at the time was trying to keep her from the claws of Diesel 10 and failed by making her go too fast. Now the clock is ticking as Diesel 10 is back and looking to finally destroy Lady, which means the end for all the steam engines, the end of the Magic Railroad, and the collapse of the universe as everyone knows it, which has already begun. And wrapped up around all of this is a bunch of drama involving Burnett's granddaughter and a theme about little engines doing big things or something. Now, there's a lot to unpack there, and a lot I could talk about, like how it's pretty insane that this is the plot for a Thomas movie, how Thomas has basically no stake in the story of his own movie, how the human drama is pointless and detracts from everything, but the real problem here, and why I think that Thomas and the Magic Railroad is the worst Thomas movie, is that it fundamentally misunderstands what makes Thomas so unique and special. By having this plot where Sodor is a pocket dimension that isn't in the real world, where magical gold dust sustains the world, where a drug-trip 7th dimension teleportation railway exists, the world of Thomas no longer feels real, and it just feels plain stupid. It simply doesn't feel like Thomas. Now yes, I will concede that there are Thomas movies that are harder to sit through, like Misty Island Rescue for example, but the difference with that movie is that I can see that film working if executed properly. An island off the coast of Sodor, always covered in mist? That could work. A semi-abandoned logging camp that 3 wacky engines maintain? That could work. A new rescue center, Thomas shipwreck, an underground tunnel, new lore for the south coast of Sodor? All of these I can see existing in Thomas if executed properly. They weren't, and that's why they're stupid, but at their core, these elements could work. Nothing at the core of Thomas and the Magic Railroad's new ideas, like the magic, or Sodor's relation to the wider world, could work no matter how you changed it. And that's why Thomas and the Magic Railroad is the worst. It just isn't Thomas. And just for some added salt in the wound, if you think about it, the identity crisis that this movie created directly and indirectly led to things like the hit changes, the Nitrogen era, Big World Big Adventures, All Engines Go, etc. It may not be canon, but its stain is still felt through all subsequent productions. Thomas and the Magic Railroad is just the worst. Thomas and the Magic Railroad is a pretty hard movie to rewrite or attempt to fix because, as I said, it is so fundamentally broken. In order to make it work in the overall canon of the show, you basically have to either delete every single universe-changing element or alter them so much that they basically don't resemble what the original idea was. I'm going to attempt the latter, though, as for as much as I don't like them, I do want to be fair to Britt Allcroft's original ideas. So for starters, if you want Shining Time and its characters in this movie so bad, just have Shining Time be some random news station we've never seen before up until this point on a new, or maybe not regularly seen branch line like Peel Godred. If you want the human elements, just make them Sodor residents, but tie their stories into the engine's plot lines more. And lastly, if you really want the magical lost engine, have Lady be more of a Proteus type character, where her magic is strictly metaphorical or legendary. Have her story be central to Sodor's history or legends, and maybe have the other railways start interfering in Sudrian affairs, trying to turn people against Steam, and it's only Lady that can keep them on the side of Steam. But all the while, you have Diesel 10 trying to destroy her quote-unquote magic and end Steam. I'm not saying this would 100% fix the movie's story. Without the magic keeping the world alive element, you basically need to write an entirely new story. But in the spirit of keeping Allcroft's ideas somewhat represented, that's the best I could come up with, and I would love to hear how you guys would fix this movie in the comments. In conclusion, I, in case you couldn't tell, do not like Thomas and the Magic Railroad and think it's the worst Thomas movie. I do, however, fully maintain that for nostalgia purposes, it is a very enjoyable movie, and when it comes to the stuff that actually focuses on Thomas and his friends, it can be, unironically, really good. I may not agree with her storytelling choices, but Britt Allcroft made her passion project, and she made it for the most part the way she wanted it to be made, which I have to respect. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any suggestions for future video topics, please let me know in the comments. My Thomas Characters Explained series will return soon. Bye, guys!